No, it's recording. You guys see my screen good too, right? Yeah. Okay. Hayden, how you doing, man? I'm glad you guys can make it. It's a lot better than talking to myself.
You hear me at all?
Oh yeah, I hear your accent.
Cool. Yeah, I could see you're struggling a little bit in yesterday's video talking to yourself.
Yeah, well, that's the first time I've done it for six, 7 months. So it's like
For sure.
it's kind of like trading is my full-time job, not speaking.
Yeah.
So it's easier when I have someone to talk to. But yeah, the SPY looks like it might want to go up to 300 today. It just depends if how's the daily. It's just hitting so much resistance right there. So I mean, if we broke through it, we're breaking records. That's how I see it. So, we'll see. I'm still going with my plan. You can see how it's kind of hit this wedge perfectly. What I drew on the bands, and it's still kind of just working through this wedge. So we'll see what happens. It'll crack eventually. Most big movements are wedges that form on the bands themselves, right? So eventually these bands will keep going and this will go this way. So if I go like this, these bands are this way, this band, I'm thinking these bands are going to go this, and then they're going to cross, and then that's going to be the big break. Now finding out where that break is, you just kind of guesstimate how long it could take for the break to happen. It's easier on the weekend, the week two to see it. So let me get rid of all this. So yeah, you can see where the resistance is at 300. That's a tough spot for it right now. And you can see that the bands are rolling on the top. So they're going to have a lot of sell pressure. So it just depends on, I think, what's going to happen today, personally. I mean, this wedge is what I'm talking about. I wish I could draw without popping everything else up. Anyways, it's pretty much what the wedge I've already drawn. So I think it's just going to keep going like this and break eventually. So it's still safe to trade SPY if that's what you're looking for. Are you trying to trade SPY right now, or? Some Apple. You guys play? What do you guys usually play? Just the trend stocks, or do you play blue chips, low floats, medium floats? Does everybody know what floats are? Like, this is a good example. This is low floats. Oops. I call them night floats. Oh, I must have put them somewhere else. Because I was on my other computer. Great. Where's my watch list at? Oh, there it is. Never mind. Sorry. Yeah, so these are low floats. They don't have a lot of shares. It's kind of like the way I set my scanner up is just like brokerage specific, when I use Ameritrade. So it's really hard to like say, hey, I'll show you my Ameritrade and this is how I set my scanner up, because each brokerage is different. Hayden, are you using a brokerage to trade? What are you using right now?
Nah, nothing, mate. Just on crypto. I'm looking at doing trading for my own superannuation. So I'll probably use a superannuation company on my behalf, and I just make the calls of what stocks to trade.
Right. There's a brokerage called Webull that you can use. That is, I think they allow other countries to use it.
Yep.
So that's one option, and it's a pretty good brokerage.
Okay. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean it's fun to finally get your hands into this, right?
Sure.
Likewise, E-Trade for options at the moment. So you do mostly options and stuff. That's okay.
Don't know much about the options.
So, just because I have the convenience of doing this at my house, I usually do low to high or medium floats. It just depends on the earnings season. Sometimes when the earnings season is, I'll throw some longs out there. But right now it's just kind of playing the scalp game. A lot of aftermarket, after hours, actual trading about 3 weeks ago. Nice. So yeah, it just really just kind of varies on what my strategy is for that part of for the year. So I had zero strategy when my wife was in the military, her short stint. She just got injured way too much. So that was just always on my mind, and just managing our daughter and stuff. Just didn't want to take away from her. We're financially, we're fine because of trading. But there was such times when I was doing trading as a hobby and working a full-time job, and it's so I understand like the stress, the pressure. I understand all those times. So I've learned throughout my pressured days not to trade when you're emotionally compromised, and just all the things that were going on this summer and her injury and everything else, I was just emotionally compromised. I tried trading and like doing paper trades, and I didn't like how I was feeling. I was thinking way too much. So now it's since I've moved into here, I've been actively trading again. So and trying to do webinars when I can. Yesterday I was at the DMV for like 3 hours, getting my North Carolina license. Anywho,
It's nice to have you back, mate. Have a little bit of life back in the group.
So is there any specific things besides SPY that you guys want to talk about, crypto or anything like that? Or do you want to stick with stocks, or do you want to just learn about the DSAR? You can see I have prototypes all the time. I'm always working on something new. This is just like a price action. You're talking about in your letter, but you're talking about like these different indicators that you use. I try to find the confluence, what I use that works with the DSAR, and this is one particular one that I built in, and it's basically like a trend line auto. It's like price action, so you can see there's a lot of price action through here. So I'll use that, but it's on a shorter. It's more for like in a scalping scenario, just because I want to see where the popular price points are, and then I want to see how much of that I can take from it, right? So if we go back to that ADIS trade this morning, also the bot that you guys see, the guy's name is Zach. He's a good guy. So if you see, he's not a bot, but I get tweets from him. I know him. So if you see those tweets pop up, he's just really advertising the low floats. And some of them are like, can make quite a bit of money. And as you can see, this one is still struggling. We were talking about this. I don't know if you were in here, Aiden. I think you were, but
Yep.
so I sold it 260. You can see where the resistance was really fighting. But just to show the example for this guy right here, this marker that we use. So you can see where their support was according with the bands and also with the price. So it was just the perfect time. So the VWAP, everything was right here. If anytime you see a scenario like this, you buy, because there's so much support in this price range. Okay, you have the VWAP, which is like your big institutions, probably news or something popped up on this particular asset, and then you have security, and then you have your price action where there seems to be a lot of back and forth buying and selling, and then of course you have your bands, which is like the mental part of where people seem comfortable buying the stock at that price. So you can see where the selling points were as well, especially when it dipped over under here, but it never fell off this channel last night. So that's why I bought it, at 126. Kind of just I wanted to get more confirmation through this resistance through here. So that's why I bought it right there instead. People who bought it right here, of course, they made more profit, but there's also, it could have just kind of hit this VWAP and then went back and tried to retest again. For me, I just wanted to wait and see if it was going to pop over that VWAP. So it did. And then we see our first resistance. Of course, all these lines are provided from the indicator. So it's not like lines that I just drew myself. I think you can get yourself in trouble for that, because you're mentally looking for something that's not there, or you're over trading, or you're overthinking your trade. Does that make sense? So like if you're saying, okay, well, I bought here, so I'm just going to move my marker up just about right there, and that should be. That's my wife. She's dropped the kiddo off. Thank you, dear. She's closing my door. Sounds like a church hall in this place. So basically, I watched it and I noticed that, and I had another line here. So I was going to have a selling point, like, okay, the party's over, if it would have hit this place area right here, but it bounced. That VWAP stuck with the position I was looking for. I don't know why I have it on that one, and I don't know why it keeps doing that either. Yeah. So what happened? Yeah. So it was the same. So I was looking at this position. You could see that there was a nice little support with the VWAP right through here. It's hard to see, but since I bought at the 126, it was, it's just that momentum movement at the aftermarket that I was watching, and sure enough, it popped over, and then it just kind of consolidated around the 150, and then this morning was the actual jump. So what you're seeing right here, that actually happened, like the after hours, and then that pre-market was when it started jumping up. So now it's at that point where if you're similar, no, not really. So I get a lot of debate, like because Don Chain is like more channels, and they use a different algorithm than volume. So this is more based off volume, just because the wave or the bands are going to help me kind of dictate if it seems like there's some excitement, right? Here's a good example, like SES. SCS. I'm sure you guys heard about SCS. It had a monster day. I mean, it was down here and it like skyrocketed. You love those, right? If you can get into it, of course. But again, I was telling some other guys this, so you noticed the, I guess I didn't draw on this one, but you notice that there was a lot of excitement all the way through here, right? A lot of happy buyers. This is, it usually starts really quick, you know, a lot of price action, the volume starts spiking. You can see right through here, right, is the highest volume amounts were right here, right? And that's exactly when the bands started turning up. So the more and more volume comes in, the higher the bands are going to turn, okay? So basically, you know, the party's on, everybody's just having fun, having drinks, whatever, if you don't drink, whatever. And then the party's over, right? Now we're in this consolidation phase. Now people tried to get through here as a reverse pullback, and of course it failed. The same thing could happen with ADAS again this morning. People could try to get into it. Maybe they don't have the extended hour privileges. So they're going to try to buy into it at market, and then they're going to get the same actions probably going to happen. But this is a good example of how that lower volume is subsiding, and you can really see that we're in this consolidation now on the bands itself, right? So if we take away the indicator, it's a little harder to see the consolidation, right? Because you kind of see more of a couple reversal pullbacks and stuff. It seems maybe like a playable, like it's going to go higher, but for the most part, when you put the indicator back on, just by the larger bands, you can really see the consolidation on the bands. Okay, that's really important. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but anytime you see the waves just going just perpendicular, you know, with each other, parallel with each other, that's just a stock that's done. The party's over. So a lot of these happen, and that's why it's really good to do your homework the day before, just to kind of see what the bands look like on those lower time frames. Does that make sense? Yeah,
that sounds good. That's a good tip with the bands. Okay. Just going horizontal like that. I didn't quite, had never put that together in that context before.
Mm-hmm. And you have to remember too that the bands that you're looking at are just different time variances. So if you switched, you know, to a higher, it's probably gonna do that stupid bug I was doing earlier. I didn't do it this time. Yeah, it still is. TradingView having issues. All right, so for instance, like sometimes these bands will show each other. This is really a bad example. Let's take off the short bands. Okay. So what I'm trying to find is the actual, like, maybe it's the 5 minute. Chad. Hi, it's Chad. Hi, Chad. My voice changed. No, so basically the bands, what you start to learn is the bands, the longer bands or the shorter bands on a higher time frame are the longer bands on a shorter time frame. And I hate this new setup they have here. So I don't know. I know some of you know that. I don't know if you guys practice it that much, but you can also see when there's going to be some consolidation on the bands just by looking at the short bands on a higher time frame. Okay, so if let's go to something with a little more volume, Netflix. see if we can see some of that consolidation. Oops. I don't like all the little things they've done with these updates. Trading View. So we think it might be this band here. I'm not sure. Maybe it's another band, but let me find it. So I'm just trying to look for the band on, it might be this one. Yeah, it's this one. So this right here is your short band, which we'll just take the long band off so we don't confuse us. So here's this is this band right here. You see that? They look almost identical. Huh? Let me take off the short band so it doesn't confuse you. And when you'll get used to seeing these, you see how they look identical. So you get used to seeing this kind of stuff on the lower time frames, or yeah. So on the lower time frames, you get used to seeing this. That you're looking on a higher time, or I'm sorry, on a higher time frame, you're looking at a lower time frame, the movement, and we're in a consolidation movement with Netflix. Does that make sense?
Yep. Do you want to touch on the VWAP for a little bit as well?
Sure. So most movements, the gatekeepers, the VWAP is the bigger institutions. They're signaling off that, or the bots are signaling off that on whatever time frame that they have it programmed on. Usually it's the daily. Sometimes it can be a shorter time frame. It just varies. So I use a lot of different time frames to sort of kind of look, I'm looking for where all the bots are active, right? Like where they're wanting to trade. And usually you can find a set of bands on one of these time frames that are very, very close together. Like you'll have the VWAP in the same spot. You'll have the bands in the same spot. They're all like right there on that price. So that's usually where the bot action is, and maybe some of the retail action. So the VWAP, a good rule of thumb, is that if this candle breaks right here, meaning that if it closes down below this right here, then it's going to keep going lower. That's the rule of thumb for a VWAP, right? What a lot of the issues with the VWAP is this can also turn back up, right? So we just use almost like an if statement to say, if the price goes back to 295, then we can put an order in. Right now it's risky, right? Because it could technically, reject that VWAP. So just it's a breaking of the candles. Every 3 candles is acceptance. So if you see the VWAP, this is a good example here. So it broke 1, 2, 3, and then it went back up. 1, 2, 3, and then boom, 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 boom. See? So if you always kind of remember just watching those candles, even on short plays, you can see if it's done or if it's not done. And usually, right? Usually there are bands in this area, because it's like, how the hell do you catch those bounces? Well, that's what the bands are for. So sometimes the institutions are still looking, and they're very strict with their price point, right? They don't want to get into it. Other times there might be bigger buyers down there that want to get into it. So then once it gets back up again, then the institution's like, okay, we got enough volume, let's do it. So, and it's not necessarily an institution. It could just be really big buyers, big whales out in the market. But that's why we have the bands, so we can see this movement right here, okay? And if we go to like a 1 minute time frame, what's that? Let me see. Boom, boom. Let's put the short bands back on there. That way we can kind of see the play that happened. So if we mark here, see this passed the VWAP on that one time frame we were just looking at. But we can see that there was confirmation on a bounce from the two bands pretty much intersecting each other. And we knew if it would have broke through this deviation here, it was going to keep going lower, right? So then if it breaks the main deviation, these popular ones here, this is where it likes to bounce anyways. But if it does break through, then what we do is we look at the actual short bands and see where the pattern is, where it likes to bounce on the short bands. Did I just lose everyone there? If I did, then I will break it down even more.
Nah, it's all good. I got that.
So you got that. So you can see that this particular set likes to bounce off this first deviation on the short bands, right?
Sure.
Okay. So we know that it's a pretty good statistical probability that if we get to this area again, that you could probably put an order in, right? So the bands are always giving you clues. And once you start really looking at these bands, you'll start seeing those clues even on a higher time frame. You'll start like envisioning what the bands are doing on the lower time frame, if that makes sense. So it's more or less just looking at the VWAPs to see if there was acceptance in the price. If there's not, then you can see definitely there's going to be a pullback. It's going to retrace. So if there is acceptance, then your decision is how long do I want to go? Well, that's the same. It's the exact same way the other way. So you would say these channels through here, where is a place where it keeps breaking, where they keep selling the price at, right? It doesn't matter the particular price, it's just at what deviation are these guys selling? So, and that's the information, that's the intel that we get from the bands. Without the bands, we don't know for sure. We know the popular price points, right? This is the popular support right here. See how it's a pretty long length, almost, yeah, pretty much a full day of where this price likes to bounce, and then it finally broke, right? So you pretty much can know if you have that ability to short, you could short this, okay? But it's also just knowing that it's not a good time to buy either if it breaks this particular price point, because it broke down through here already. Okay, so it's confirmations on your trades or something that you're prospecting to get into or invest in, using multiple indicators as long as they have confluence with what you're using or your strategy. That's the key. So if everything is if you had a checklist and you said, okay, boom, RSI, boom, the Bollinger Bands, boom. I'm just making examples of different indicators people use. The MACD. Well, it's the same thing, except a lot of the checklist is already done on the DSAR. So if the DSAR is saying that it's in an oversold or overbought situation, then you know that it's not a good time to buy or sell. Just wait. So that's why it's really good to paper trade with it. It's also really good to kind of do your own homework and find stocks that you think are going to have some potential. So sometimes the news can influence it, or sometimes it's just a good time to buy. So we know it's not a good time to buy up here because it fell out of the channel, right? But it is a better time to buy down here. So I guess that's my point. And you can see we're getting into this squeeze. So there's a lot of sales going on, and the shorts are losing, the bears are losing. So anytime it starts squeezing down like this, you know, the bears are losing. So it's going to have to pop back up. Okay. But you can also see on these bands that it's squeezing as well. So this is just, it's like, all right, Netflix, you know, it's been selling too much. We need to buy it again, right? They've been putting too much sell pressure. So we can look at this and see that there's some squeeze action happening here too. So it's just really important to kind of envision where the market's going overall. If it's in a squeeze position, then it's most likely they're gonna start buying soon. So, and then that just becomes an area or at the price of what you feel comfortable to buy into. Okay, so enough rambling on. So you had Google, the Bitcoin Outlook, Roku, which I'm using on my Spectrum. What's that? MPC. Okay. How you been, Chad? Chad, I still owe you $30, don't I? I do owe you $30. I got you. It's like, it's my bill collector here. You're gonna short this? Ooh, I don't know. I am looking on a smaller time frame though. Let me fix that. So a lot of people, they say, so should you, let me fix my bands. It's okay. They say, should you keep it on EXT, extended hours? And this has always been a big debate with other guys that I used to talk to and stuff. Other indicators people used. I say yes. I think you should always have it on extended hours. There's a lot of action going on that the rendering needs to happen. So you can see the direction that it's going that you didn't see before. It's like if I would have kept it on no EXT for ADIS, for example, that I was in this morning. If I would have kept it on, I probably would have got out sooner. So, but because of the EXT, I saw the action and I saw those new levels of support that were building that was able for me to get into it. So yeah, Marathon, man, this is a pretty good asset. I've played this many times. You can see on the little price action thingy jiggy here that it's testing this squeeze. So you're wanting it to go down, correct? That's you're wanting to sell this.
Yeah.
Is there a particular price that you're wanting to sell it at?
Let me see. I mean, 60. Hang on. I have to look back at my charts here. Yeah, somewhere 63-ish, I guess.
60. Man,
if it can drop a hell of a lot more than that and go down to, there's a gap fill like 62.
There's still some excitement though that's going on. I was telling these guys before you came in here about how the bands will show some excitement. There's still some excitement going on, so be careful. This thing could still keep going up on you. I would say 62, 61 is definitely a price. If it breaks that, it's going to go lower. And then, of course, 59. They're not going to make the obvious, right? So the obvious would be 59, right? That's also an area where it could buy back again. And that kind of makes sense because if you see the popular price point on the daily that I'm showing right here on this 30-minute, you can see that if it's right in this channel, and we were talking about those channels earlier, but there's excitement that happens on these stocks. And we need to pay attention to how the bands look. So if the bands are, shooting up like this direction, there's a lot of excitement still going on. So this is a wary place to sell, right? And it's vice versa. If you see the bands going down, there's a lot of sell excitement going on. So there's still buy excitement right here. But if it falls out of this channel around 60 bucks or so, that's when, to me, is a safer part to short. You're going to get a lot more value, even though there's a $4 possible profit. You could lose that quickly. So I would just wait for these bands to start turning or consolidate. I would definitely say if they consolidate, it's a safe time to sell. But right now, I would be very careful selling. So you can see my little mark. How cool is that? Such a nerd. But you see the little mark here, and this, yeah. So that's basically what we're looking at is this short band or close to it. But we see the excitement, and it's almost like if you look at Bollinger Bands. The thing is, though, is Bollinger Bands don't have channel. These bands do. So it's easy to sort of play. I wouldn't say easy, but you can see there's a couple like rules. One, it's kind of like hanging in this price range, you know, just waiting for the bigger buyers maybe, or two, they're just waiting for the bigger sellers. So at this point, it's up to you. I mean, you see that it's rejected before at this VWAP. So it is an area of selling for sure. It's right in the middle. So I guess I would keep looking on a shorter time frame, just to see what the play is going to be for the day, and then go from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you can see, like, even if it drops down, it's still about 63, right? It's still not going to follow that channel yet. So it might take a little bit time for this to fall all the way down but I would definitely say around like 61, you know, you can get interested. These channels here, pretty decent gap. So yeah, 61. And then if you want, you can use the multiplier. I don't know if you guys utilize the multiplier that much. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I use it all the time now.
Yeah, it definitely can help you see some of that support or resistance on a higher, like, where there's still possibilities on different time frames where people might be interested in buying it. So we just keep adjusting this time frame up more just to see where there's a lot of resistance or support. So if this price right here carries onto this channel, then I'm going to say that it's probably not a good time yet to sell it. But if it's already left the channel, then maybe it is a good time to sell it. So I think I'm, yep, out of my. So yeah, of course. So they're not going to make it easy for you. So it's like right there. Right there. And there's that 61 I was talking about, and that's right on that channel. Right on that support. So I guess that's your area of concern, sir. Either it's going to keep going and try to fight through this resistance that it's coming through, but this is a squeeze, so it is possible that there's a lot of people thinking like you right now, Chad. There's a lot of people wanting to sell this. All right, is that good? What else we got?
That's perfect, thanks.
I'm sorry for the echo. I'm gonna get like some blankets or carpets in here or something.
There's not really much echo on this end, so I just keep muting because we just got a Great Dane and he's chewing up everything in the house right now.
Yeah. My dogs are little, so I have the door shut here. Google, oh, and Bitcoin. Let's just talk about Bitcoin. Why not? Do you ever play do you ever play low floats, Chad, or you ever mess with those?
Yeah, I'll play anything as long as it looks good.
Yeah, I was telling these guys about playing my aftermarket ATIS. I went up $1-ish, $1.30. It's not bad. It's good profit. Yeah, not bad. But yeah, I just told them that you have to do your homework, you know, and sometimes that profit can be made at night, and then you don't have to do anything the next day. Like you've made your profit for the morning, so you're good. It just depends on how greedy you want to be, you know, and if the market turns red on you and you got a lot of positions open, and you know they start going red on you, then you might have been better just taking your profit this morning and letting everything else bleed. But we'll see. But anyway, these are some of the low floats I'm looking at right now. Bitcoin. Oof. This is such a turd. So there was a support. So it's really consolidation to me. Like I don't see a lot of big action. I still see some selling action going on, right? Because these channels are still going like down. The price is going down like this. That's really over exaggerated. But anyways, the VWAP is, these guys are going to keep saying no, right? Every time it tries to test this, you're gonna be like, no, sell. And then, you know, eventually maybe it's that like 7,500 area. That's fine, dude. Who knows? Who knows where Bitcoin wants to go? We just know where the big supports are, the popularity supports, which is like the 6,300 range. And again, we're playing the sell, like, so we're playing the excitement on the sell side, right? Because people are trying to make money selling this thing. After this turd went the opposite direction, people were thinking it was gonna, you know, go all the way up to, you know, past 20K. And then it abruptly lost its steam, but it really didn't, because it actually rejected at the same deviation that did before on the daily. So if anybody was paying attention to this, they could have taken max profit easy. This had a little less excitement on the bands, but it was because it was such a tricky little buy at the bottom. So if anybody caught it, which I mentioned back in October, I think it was October or November, I mentioned about this was going to start going up, then you made some profit. I made some profit off this. I think I sold it at like 11K or something, just because I didn't want to play up here. Just because I say sometimes you can see it's obvious, right? You can see the best time to sell it. When you have a lot of money on the line, sometimes it's just better to be safe, especially if you bought low. So don't be too greedy. But yeah, this is the channel I was talking about right here. So there's still a lot of sell pressure. And the bands are pointing straight down. Now, if the bands were doing something like this, where it started looking like it's going to roll, then things get a little interesting. Then maybe the selling point is almost done, and we should, you know, be ready to take profit on the buy-in. So it's more or less just kind of watching what the bands want to do right now, which to me is what's that? How much weight would you all time? CMS, AAP, how much? Same. Yeah, I mean, you can always redo your support and resistance lines. You probably should. It's a good idea too. And just do your homework. Take 30 minutes out of your day and redo some of your multiple variance lines. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. When I did the multiple video, if you don't have that video, let me know and I'll send it to you. But basically, it tells you how to use the multiplier and then add your support and resistant lines off them. So it just works on finding those popular price points. So see, this was a popular price point. A lot of people were selling right here, so I didn't feel too bad selling mine either. This is not, I don't, this could be a popular price point at the 7,100. It's still, to me, if it's gonna test down that low, I feel like might as well try to see if the investors are gonna buy it. If the investors aren't interested, it's just gonna keep going lower. So that's sort of what I see. Right now it's just kind of hanging on this one deviation for dear life. But I feel like this action right here, once it breaks down for another candle going down, it's gonna go fast to me. Because nobody will ever want you to make money, they want you to lose money. So they try to keep you guessing. But I think I had a good 2-day that was showing some, a little bit. Some people were talking about the 200 EMA or the 200 moving average, were a popular point for Bitcoin, and it rejected that 200 moving average, which it actually did. But for me, I wanted to see if the investors are also disinterested in that area too, and they were. So it rejected this VWAP right here. It kept bouncing and bouncing, and it just fell. So it still technically hasn't broken one more candle. That's what I'm waiting for. And then it's all out to me. It's all out of short. And still you can kind of see where the bands start like curling up. See, there's a lot more, there's more buyers down here. So it's just really important to kind of get an idea where it could go, or it could just really go into like a long, cold, boring Bitcoin winter where it doesn't do anything, it just consolidates. It could just stay in this little range all day like this. It could do one of these things, where it comes down here and this kind of dribbles out and then bounces back up again. So that's my my take on Bitcoin right now. I feel like it's a risky area to play in until it breaks, maybe a more pivotal place, which is that like 7,300 range. Then I would probably start selling it. Just because there's just no support at all in that area. So what else did you have that you were looking for? Google. Okay. Where's my frames at? Of course, all these are going to play off the main indexes as well. So if you see the main indexes hitting those resistance areas, which they are, then the other stocks are also going to perform the same way. It's just like Bitcoin and then the altcoins, right? If Bitcoin starts filling, the altcoins start filling. If the indexes are reading that we're getting into this bearish market, all the places are going to start selling. So, and that's really what we're kind of looking at for the SPY. But for the time being, let's see if there's anything profitable. Are you looking to sell here, or what are you thinking? You can kind of see here that it keeps rejecting on this bigger deviation too. Do I still have it on multiplier 12? No. Okay, good. Get out of there. A little bit of excitement, see? A little excitement through these bands. Still buyers. It's like if you're selling here, beware, you know, there's still buyers. There's still some pressure going up. Still excitement. So I would, if I was selling this, I wouldn't sell it yet. If I was buying it, I would be careful buying it. And I would only play the short time frames on this. So you can definitely see where it likes to bounce, boom, boom. This is not a popular price point at 12.45. Seems like it's a popular price point for this guy. That's a good one. 12.24. So maybe if it doesn't pass through here, but you can still see there's a little bit of buying going on. Yeah, I mean, I think again, these bigger guys they're gonna follow the indexes a lot more. So it's just right now it's you know, a shorter play would probably be something I'd be looking at. I would not be holding this for long term. See how the fang looks. Oh, I need to upgrade. Okay. Well, I will. So, and these are the old lines that I wrote before. You can see where those resistance at this price point, and we're testing this area right here for now. So we'll see if they accept this, but then you can kind of see where the bands are putting some sell pressure through here, right? If the bands are going like this, so there's just a little bit of back and forth fighting right now between the buyers and the sellers and this particular price point. So, but it's also getting in that red zone. So that's just a zone I don't buy in. Unless it gets over this, and then I'll buy into it. So it's just having that patience and perseverance. But, you know, it keeps making higher highs. Even the investors are still interested. This VWAP is still staying, you know, it's not in a lower zone. You know, it's still kind of staying in this medium part of the band. Sometimes the VWAP will take a turn if it sees maybe something happened in the news with a particular security and people are scared to buy or trade or sell. You'll notice that the VWAP starts kind of lingering down as well. So very important, just to pay attention to those signs. And let's see, we talked about Netflix, and someone was talking about Apple. So this was the example I was talking about, how it's crossing over that last line that I wrote. You can see it rejected here the last time. This time it didn't. So now it's trying to build a support on this price range. You can also see there's a lot of excitement going on. The bands are shooting straight up, especially through here. Look at that. And then the bigger bands are still shooting straight up. So as long as it just carries on, then we can look at higher highs for sure. Some record highs for, but just remember that we're also in that zone that this is a risky zone, you know, low risk right here, high risk up here. So if you're buying, if you're selling, then it's vice versa. You just need to find where it's going to fall.
And what about those low floats that you posted? Did you want us to take a look at them over the coming week to see how they move, or what was the intent there?
So of course I have all these like set out on my account, my brokerage account. So ones I'm going to play, ones I'm not going to play. it's more or less just seeing what I'm going to buy in for the morning. But since ATS did so good, I might not. I made enough profit this morning. I might not even trade today. So we'll see. If something really entices me, like if something just really like, what do you call it? Like, tickles your fancy, or I don't know. So for instance, if this stays above this price direction right here, then it might be a good idea to buy it. Because there still is some excitement, but there is a little bit of selling pressure as well. So that's why it's in this consolidation. There's that excitement I was talking about right here. So there's still some excitement. So maybe in the open, it might test this again and then bounce up. But again, this could, when you're playing these low floats, they're very volatile. So you have to really know how to play them and set up your risk assessment accordingly, because you can lose money fast.
Sure. Yeah, I looked at most of them, and for me, probably LITB was probably the standout. It looks like it might have a bit of a pop to the upside.
Yeah. So this kind of it's definitely in the green zone. I was looking at that as well. I don't know why that keeps popping up. Maybe because of that, but there is some sell pressure going on. You do see the sell, but there is a rolling on the bands right here.
Right.
So if this starts rolling around, and that's what I'm kind of hoping, is it starts doing this thing, then that's when it's time to buy. So this is one of those scenarios that, like, wow, you cut the bottom. Congratulations, right? Mm-hmm. Or wow, you just lost some money. So it's if it can stay in this above this price direction or this price action right here, we're good. So right now it's at 113. If it stays above that, we're good.
Sure.
It could be a midday runner. It might not start off so hot this morning, but then after lunch maybe it starts popping off. Before aftermarket. So another one I liked was this one. It looks like it's about either it's going to sell hardcore this morning. Again, testing this. See how all the bands are like kind of conjuring around this price, $1.89. It's bounced multiple times. Now we have the investors. We have everybody there. It's kind of like an auction. Will you buy it here? Yes or no? No. Okay. And then it'll sell. But if they say yes, then it's a great time to buy. So I'll be, and this movement will happen really fast. So, and sometimes I'll go on to my Ameritrade and look at the news for a particular ticker and see what kind of news. I don't really base, most of my trading is based off technicals, which I've had my success in, because sometimes when you start reading about a new product that's coming out, or especially when I was in like the bio stocks and stuff, like biotech is mostly low float. Once I was in that, like, you get invested in the stories and the company itself and what they're trying to do. And they have this new like pill or something to cure cancer. And it's all like heartwarming. And you're like, wow, like I really like this company. And then you get burned in the market. You're like, what? So you just can't base it off, your feelings or the fundamentals. They just kind of help you. If you see like, for instance, like SES, they had a huge deal with Australia for like $59 million or something. That's big news. So if the price is already in the low green, that's just a good time to buy. And then when you get the news on top of that, that's icing on the cake. So first thing you do is use the scanner, however you're going to find your stocks. You can also use Finvix, which I believe it's that. and they have a scanner as well. And I'll send you guys after this, because it's on my other computer, but I'll send you guys a link in the chat that will show you how you can do like low floats without having like a brokerage. Even if you wanted to do paper trading on TradingView, just for fun, just see how good you do. It's good to be very active in this. The better you get, the better you're going to be when you start trading with real money. So Finvix, they're great because they have the actual chart, and then they have the news on it as well. So it's better for me. It's always look at the technical. I'm like, I'm in the green. All right, I like that. And then I see the news. I'm like, boom, that's icing on the cake. So those are two things I look at. This one, it looks like it's going to be pooping its big boy pants this morning. I do see a little bit of selling assignment right here, or buying, right? But the big boys are looking like they're going to reject it first thing this morning. This one looks like it has upside. There's some selling pressure, but the investors look like they're going to buy it more. I think a lot of these are midday runners, unless they get halted or there's not enough volume on it. And that's the thing too, when you're playing the low floats. Sometimes there's just no volume. There's nobody really interested in it, so you have to wait. But keep them on here, right? Because I think it was like CSS. I played Wednesday and it had absolutely no action, and then it went like bananas. I bought it at 3, I believe, 3 or 4. Was it 3? I think it was like 4. But it went bananas. So a lot of this will happen sometimes where it just, there's nothing going on with it, and it stagnates, and then it just goes crazy. So maybe there's no volume on that particular day, but the next day there is. So don't freak out, don't panic if your stock's not moving, right? If it's in a good place to buy, keep it, just hold it. If it's still not moving and it's still just blah, then it's up to you what you want to do. Obviously, if you're in that pattern day trading rule, that's going to hurt you a little bit more. You don't want to fall into that scenario. This is another good example of how even in the green, it was still selling because of the direction of the bands. We're still going down. Now the direction of the bands are going up, right? So it's just always just little tiny things. Even if you can't catch the bottom of these things, you can still see the direction of a safe time to buy it. And usually it's the shorter bands that will give you that notion. So there's still like just a little bit of like manipulation going through here, but it just started building this, this price it just could not get to a comfortable area until there was a little I guess, agreement with the investors. It said, all right here. And that's when it started going up. Yep, right here. See how it's longer? Yep. So now for me, it's more or less to see if it can break through this part right here, which I think it will, and then it'll start climbing. So we'll pay attention to that one. I mean, I know it's like for Hayden, I know it's late for you, but I remember when I was in Colorado, it was so early. So it was weird doing like webinars. I was like halfway awake.
It's good that these days it's good. Thursday, Friday works out a treat.
Okay, nice. So I'll try to keep them on these days. And I appreciate you guys showing up, and hopefully you learned some stuff this morning.
Yep.
Coffee was good.
Some of it's just to revise or reinforce some of the stuff. You might have heard it before, but it's good just to keep things ticking over.
Well, and then, and then practicing in action, and that's really all you're doing is repetitive. I'm saying the same things over and over and over because that's the system. And once you figure out the system, then you're going to have success. When you take away the emotional mindset and put the logical, the brain, the smart mindset, that's when you're going to have success in your trades. So even this morning, I was in another group I was talking to, we were talking about the asset trade, and there was still people in the trade, and I was already out of the trade with, my feet on the desk, right? Just because I knew exactly where it was going to sell, which it did. I could have sold it higher, but why risk it, right? So that's that point, that you take away that emotional, but see what happened is then I could tell those guys were getting emotional into that trade. And it was showing. So it's just really, it's just keeping those emotions at bay. That's the most important thing is trying to really just stay technical, read the news, but don't get involved in it. Right. I remember so many people when crypto was like popular, were getting so involved into these altcoins. And I was just like, you're going to get burned if you keep thinking that's how the markets move, because they don't move that way. They're just icing on the cake. Right. But these developers, they're so good. I mean, wow. Look what they're doing. I mean, it's blah, 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 blah. I mean, then you look at the altcoin now and you're like, the thing's worthless. If you're still holding on to it, then you're just losing money. So it's just really, to me, that's more important than the indicator itself, is keeping your emotions at bay. And if you feel like even in your paper trades that you're getting emotional or you're holding on to some of these too long and you're not selling, that's when it's a good time to take a step back, take a week off or whatever, and then get it back together the next day. So, and I also recommend too, like when you really start trading stocks, get some blue chips, get some things that don't move really fast, but they're still a good time to buy. Sometimes that's even the better thing to do than playing the day trading game, because it's a Wild West out here. I mean, a lot of these could, backfire on you if you're not careful. So you're not going to have that much stress or emotional intruding with the the blue chips, in my opinion.
Yeah, with the superannuation that I'm looking to invest with, I think you're limited to like the 300 top stocks on the ASX. So that'll be pretty much, mostly blue chip stocks, for those ones that are, stable earners.
Yeah, because they don't want to lose money.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what they're going to look at too, is the same scenario. They're not trying to lose money. They're trying to make money. And if they're playing these, lower, floats, these, companies you never heard of before, you might get burned. There's still people talking about there was a low float that had its realm or whatever, saying, "Oh, I'm holding on to it. This thing's going to go to the moon." It's not going anywhere. It's done. Right? These guys played the market. Now they're moving on to something else. That's how the exchanges are. There's no like, unless they're popular, right? Like Apple is popular. Of course, buy into it. Costco, Starbucks, Walmart. These are names that you've heard of before. Who has heard of, Barnes and Noble, yeah, is good, but it, to me, it's not like an investment I would hold on to. So if you're investing, that's one thing. If you're active trading, then who cares? So, but this is for your own, when you're financially stable to trade full time on your own. That's basically what I'm getting at. So I'm gonna call it today. That's pretty good talk.
Yeah, really good. Much appreciated. Good to catch up.
And I wish you guys luck if you're trading today, or I appreciate you guys listening in, and have a good weekend as well.
Yeah, for sure. You too.
All right, man. I'll see you guys.
Catch you later.
Oh, and I'll send you that Vimix leak, that Finvix leak too. All right, cheers.